Erik, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, appreciate the time. I know this is more than challenging for many. I wanted to spend some time and ask you about how Banner Bank is handling these major resource challenges and staff, and maybe just start off with giving folks a brief description of the bank. You're in Oregon and Washington, right?
Yeah, my teams are in Oregon and Washington, but our bank has locations in California and Idaho as well.
All right, and your role, you're the senior VP and involved in AML, OFAC, all aspects of financial crime. How many offices are you responsible for?
So I'm responsible for 6, and that includes our fraud team as well. So we've got 2 locations in Oregon and then 4 locations throughout the state of Washington, including the Seattle area.
And obviously, we've been well aware of Washington State's major issues from almost the very beginning. What is it like in Oregon, in terms of quarantine issues and all of that? Obviously, you have to pay attention to both and to California, but give folks a sense of Oregon. Are there stay-at-home requirements, guidance, directions? So generally, what's happening there?
Sure. So Oregon's a little unique. We're being between Washington and California. We've kind of taken our guidance our governor has from really what Washington and California are doing. However, the cases and impact we've seen in Oregon has not been as great as it is in California or Washington. So our governor has really just stayed in line and given us stay-at-home orders. We haven't done anything as extreme as policing it yet, but we've heard rumors that Washington State is going to start doing so. So it wouldn't surprise me if Oregon just followed suit, given our proximity to Washington and the amount of folks that kind of travel across the border.
And we mentioned before we jumped on this call, we talked separately about Washington State going into an advanced, my words, quarantine, what is considered essential and non-essential. And I know that banking is considered essential. So from a practical standpoint, how does that impact your employees in Washington?
Yeah, so our employees in Washington, we've done what we can from a frontline perspective to limit the amount of contact that we'll have face-to-face, and followed what a lot of other institutions have done, which is utilize our drive-thrus and then by appointment only if absolutely necessary. The governor in the state of Washington, as they're kind of moving towards more of a extreme version of quarantine, there's rumors that they may start policing it, where folks who are out and about are actually pulled over by police and asked what they're doing. Our company has allowed us those in essential roles, they've provided us letters basically outlining that we can provide to law enforcement if need be. And those have gone out not just in Washington State, but throughout our footprint, just to at least allow us as essential employees in an essential industry, if we do need to get to the office, we can.
It sounds like there's strong, as they say, tone at the top. So your CEO and the senior management, your board, it sounds like they were not just reactive, but proactive. So has there been a lot of, is it daily messaging that goes out to staff, or just when things change in terms of government edicts? How's the communication? Obviously, you have your own communications to your staff. The communication from the top of the house, how is that? And generally, how does that flow throughout the organization?
Sure. So we have a tactical response team internally that we started, I want to say 3 to 4 weeks ago, started having daily meetings as the situation started changing. A majority of our branches and our footprint is based in Washington State, which was one of the states hit hardest initially.
Right.
And so we reacted by creating this tactical force internally with representatives that oversee kind of larger groups and business lines. We've had daily meetings. We're pulling those back to maybe not as frequently, but we report on a daily basis kind of number of staff that are able to work, number of staff that aren't, number of staff that have to go into the office, number of staff that can stay at home, just so we're at least aware from a higher level of the amount of staff that may be impacted to the fact where they can't get into the office or not, or can't work from home. So we've been pretty proactive in at least reporting it and communicating it. And then it's out to the business line owners to have individual conversations. And within our financial crimes risk management team, we've set up daily calls as well with the leadership team, and each of them has a morning call with their staff just to touch base and update them on any kind of new news or anything that's changed, as well as just to get everybody on the same page on a daily basis.
You know, one of the things, obviously, for a number of years, many of us have worked remotely, worked from home, that sort of thing. And but for some, it's a brand new experience, and obviously there's some personal issues you have to deal with if you have young children, you have elderly relatives that are staying with you, that sort of thing. What have you seen in general from the staff that report up to you? What the challenges have been? Obviously, I'm going to make an educated assumption that everybody is, they're diving in, rolling up the sleeves, and they're trying to do best they can. But I have to imagine with some folks, it is a change. And if you've never had the opportunity to work remotely, trying to figure out, where to work, and obviously you're dealing with proprietary information, how has that all gone for you?
Yeah, it's gone. I'd say it's gone as well as we could have hoped it has. We've kind of had a unique group to where I want to say 90 to 95% of our staff have laptops issued to them and have the ability to work remotely. We just haven't had a regular work from home policy of where you're doing it on a weekly basis. We've allowed our staff we basically take we have monitor setups where we have 2 monitors and a laptop. So they've taken their workstations home. From that standpoint, as far as being able to access the work we need to do, there haven't been any major issues outside of things we can't control, like internet providers and impacts that they've had. The other side of it with kids and other folks in the house, I'm sure you can probably hear in the background, I have a 22-month-old daughter who's running around, and we're trying to play a defensive strategy on her where I watch her for a couple hours and my wife does, and we get work done in between. That's been a change that we haven't had to deal with. And I think a lot of folks on our staff have had to kind of deal with similar things such as that, where it's, we're dealing with things at home every day now that we don't typically have to. If it's a snow day or something like that, we make do and figure it out. But now that we're 3 weeks into working from home full time, it's presented additional challenges that we didn't really forecast or plan for.
Sure. Yeah, I can only imagine. Let's talk about the regulatory side of this. I have read what the Federal Reserve has said about exams. The OCC, at least the last thing that I saw, seemed to indicate that things would go on generally as usual, in that a lot of exams, according to the OCC, were done remotely. I haven't checked on the FDIC. Who regulates you, and how is if you've had any interactions with either your examiners or the regulators in the past month? And, obviously not proprietary information, but generally, how are those conversations going? What's the general expectations?
Sure. So we're FDIC regulated, and I've had a few conversations already with our main examiner who does our BSA exam, as well as our examiner in charge and some other folks that report up through that channel. we're scheduled to have our exam in the next few months. And we had a call this week with one of the examiners that'll be a part of that, and tested some of the technology that they're trying to use on the FDIC side to allow for kind of remote meetings and kind of Zoom-like meetings where either we're using a webcam and all sitting there on our computers, or at least using the teleconference options there. And so we're prepping for an exam that's going to probably be completely remote. And so that'll present its own challenges, but we've been pretty proactive in at least communicating from our side, as well as the regulators communicating to us kind of, these are what we're going to hope to accomplish and utilize within the exam. And we all realize that we're going to hit some bumps in the road that we probably don't typically run into, but it seems like it's been a pretty collaborative approach so far.
Well, that's good. I mean, that obviously is logical, and you would hope that'd be the case. And I've heard similar anecdotes from other banks. So, we obviously consider the regulators our partners in some cases, even though they obviously have oversight responsibilities. So that's good. I'm curious also about, I spoke a couple of days ago with Dennis Lormel, who I know you know, about COVID-19 frauds. And obviously there's been, FinCEN has come out with some things. I'm sure the agencies have either resent the same messaging or had messaging of their own. What is it like to be, again, in charge of the AML and fraud space for the bank to try to figure out, to be vigilant in terms of any frauds committed here? I mean, obviously you're experienced in this space, so it's like any other current fraud. You got to make sure that you're vigilant and paying attention that these things are possible. With the monies that are coming out from the government, there's already scams going on there. So walk us through how, maybe training is too formal a word, but the awareness that you send to your staff, and I'm sure some of them have figured this out on their own, of course, because they're experts in their space, but to be prepared for sort of certain new levels of fraud that, 3 months ago didn't exist.
Sure. So we've been as proactive as we can with just following any information that we have out there. We're part of a group with the CBA as well as the ABA, and we pay attention to any sort of fraud updates or anything that they have on that side, or anything that really pertains to financial crime. We have daily meetings with our fraud staff. We've kind of changed our reporting structure to be more of a daily reporting up to me and then to certain other folks throughout the organization of things that we believe are impacted specifically due to the COVID pandemic. And so we've changed our daily reporting to kind of reflect that. And then we've also we've continued to have daily meetings to discuss any new trends we're identifying or seeing, as well as any new news or industry information that we have. So any resources that are out there that have provided that have been really helpful. AML RightSource has provided a lot of really good content as well that we've been able to utilize as well. And we just do what we can to share it with our team and communicate as much as we can to try to at least hit it head on as much as we can.
Sure. Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Well, I'll get you out of here on this so you can get back if it's your turn to watch your daughter. That is, you're based on the past 3 weeks and obviously what you're trying to think about going forward. What's your recommendation for your peer AML officers that are also dealing with this? What are things that they maybe haven't thought about, or more importantly, your priorities? You give us a lot of great information, but if I'm giving you a call and saying, Erik, I'm just jumping into this today, what do I need to be aware of? What's your best practice for going forward?
So the biggest thing that we've stressed from day one, and before we even started going work from home, is these are times that we've never lived through, and we've never had to work through or manage through. And so communication has been the biggest thing. And we have stressed with every staff level that we have, whether they're a manager or an analyst, is we need to communicate anything that's going on. So if you are impacted personally, you don't need to share with us what's going on. But if you're impacted and you can't get your day-to-day job done, you need to let us know so we can utilize our other resources. And because of that, we've had daily meetings to discuss kind of where we are with volumes of work, whether they're alerts, cases, other things that kind of fall under BSA and fraud. We've constantly communicated where we are on a daily basis with everything, so we're not hit with any additional curveballs that we didn't plan for. So that's been the biggest thing, has been communication. The other is just staying on top of it and inspecting what you expect. When folks are not around on a daily basis and you don't get the opportunity to work with them face to face, it's reaching out personally, one-on-one. I've tried to reach out to all of our analyst staff and just touch base with them to see how they're doing and make sure their days are going okay, outside of just their managers doing that, just so I know it's kind of alone in our houses, but we're still a team and still a group that are trying to do what we can to combat financial crime and the issues that are out there. And we're prepping for, on the AML side, it's a little bit different than fraud. I think we'll probably see an uptick in work volumes in our alert drops that are coming in the coming weeks. And so we're trying to plan as much as we can for that to understand and be able to work through it.
And I'm sure your staff appreciates that. Personal touch is so important. Erik Vingelen from Banner Bank, really appreciate your time today. Stay safe. Thanks for the information, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, John. You as well.